what do you want to do next? You want to do the Big 12?
Yeah, let's get into the Big 12 now. So my prediction for the Big 12 this upcoming season is Iowa State versus Kansas State Wildcats. I look at this
Ooh.
conference here, the Big 12. The Big 12 is the hardest conference to predict. Just an absolute mosh pit of teams in that conference. There's not a lot of separation. There's so many teams that are like so close to each other and just talent level. And it seems like every weekend in that conference, like any team could win. So I just think that's a really hard conference to predict. But I say Iowa State because one, they made the conference championship last year, came up a little short against Arizona State. But Iowa State has seemed to be kind of the pillar of the Big 12. They're kind of the solid, the program that's always, just there. They're always going to be good. They're always going to be pretty close to making their conference championship, whether they do or they don't. So I just think consistency I go with there. And then Kansas State. Kansas State was leading the Big 12 pretty much most of the season last year until they kind of started losing some games at the end and they fell out of the race. Um, I believe they finished like 9-3. I'll have to check on that. But Avery Johnson, their quarterback, a lot of guys remembered that he was the guy that beat out Will Howard when Will Howard was still at Kansas State a year ago or a couple years ago now. Before he transferred to Ohio State last year and then won a national championship with them. Avery Johnson was the guy that beat him out in the competition and then took the job at Kansas State. So,
Yeah.
just an interesting storyline there as well. We'll have to see if Avery Johnson is able to, use that as some kind of motivation or whatnot to have his own success story down there in Manhattan, Kansas. But what do you think about the Big 12 this year, Tom?
I think a mosh pit of teams perfectly describes it. I mean, I'm looking at the conference last year, top to bottom. There was four teams that were 7-2 in the conference, and then we have three teams at 6-3, two at 5-4, and one of those teams at 5-4 being Kansas State. And I very much agree, like you said, Avery Johnson coming back. I think last year, he took his lumps, and he's going to come back this year a little experienced, a little sour taste in his mouth. But I mean, top to bottom, I mean, Oklahoma State was 0-9 in conference play last year, and that's another team where they could just come out of nowhere, and they get a couple good recruits here and there, hit the transfer portal, and they got a good system over there. They've been a historic team, and then even you got another team at the bottom is Utah. Utah is one of those teams too, where they sometimes they just come out of nowhere and put together a top 15 season. And then, I mean, yeah, at the top, I personally have Kansas State beating BYU. I think BYU is also just one of those teams that's there year in, year out. They're a pesky little team, always a hard team to beat, uh, either at home or on the road. So, I mean, I think BYU comes back and gets in the conference championship this year. Kansas State makes a turnaround, gets into the conference championship and wins it. And don't sleep on Colorado either. I know they lost their stars, but they're a flashy team. They got Dion over there, and as much as I hate to say it as a Nebraska fan, he is a pretty solid coach. I can't deny it. And then I mean, Arizona State losing Scattaboo, he always carried the team. Really solid, but I just think it's Kansas State's year. And then again, I mean, just kind of like we were saying with the ACC, it'll just be interesting to see how it unfolds, just because you just never know. And then you even got like Houston. Houston's another one of those teams where sometimes they just have a one-off year and they put it together. And yeah, I mean, even TCU in the mix. They're 6-3 in conference, 9-4 overall. I mean, they ended the season with 4 wins in a row. So not that means anything going into this year, but they know how to win there too. Just a lot of programs in the Big 12, like you said, like they just figure out ways to just put a season together. They're not playing for the long game. They're playing one season at a time. They're not big dynasty schools like the SEC or Big Ten where they're year in year out. Big 12 is more of a who can put it together this year type of conference, but. That's what I think. That's why I think Kansas State, they're going to probably have the best experience. And probably the best quarterback in the Big 12. Again, way too early predictions, hard to say, but I do like K-State over BYU in the Big 12 championship. And again, you know, uh, could be Iowa State, like you said. I mean, that conference is just up for grabs. But yeah, that's all I got for the Big 12.
I love that you mentioned those teams that I didn't mention in that first round. So I'm going to piggyback right off of what you talked about, Tom.
Oh yeah.
The Big 12 really is a very interesting conference, and I think that a lot of football fans, college football fans out there, sleep on the Big 12. And I just think it's a shame because, even though the Big 12 did lose a couple of their, well, not a couple of their, literally their two best programs as far as, just big time revenue and all those things, Oklahoma and Texas, a year back, as we know. But they're still a very strong conference, and the new teams that they've added have definitely added some interesting parity as well to that conference. So let me just get into that real quick. Utah and Oklahoma State made a absolute mockery out of me last season when I predicted him to be the conference championship matchup last season. My own. And just because I thought, okay, Oklahoma State is pretty good. They got Ollie Gordon, whatnot, before he got drafted this past draft. I thought they were going to be a solid program. I thought Utah was going to come over from the Pac-12 and just, take it over because they were like a really good team in the Pac-12, at its peak. And I just thought they were going to come over and just do it. But no, neither of those teams even got close. So I just had to mention that.
That is a prime example, though, of how tough the Big 12 is. Is Utah coming from the Pac-12, and they were always they were competing with the Oregons and anybody at the top of the Pac-12, and it's just had a tough start, 2-7.
Exactly. Like, it was interesting to see how they were so competitive against, the likes of Oregon and, USC and Washington and stuff like that, just to come over and, kind of struggle in their first year. So, caught me off guard, made a mockery out of me, but just want to mention that. And then BYU. So, the thing about BYU now is that BYU, their quarterback, transferred, or he is transferring. He's in the transfer portal right now because he violated a super old rule that they have, at the Mormon university that is BYU, that
Yeah.
if you have premarital sex your girlfriend, that you can be suspended. And that's exactly what they did. They suspended Ratcliffe, their quarterback, for like, I think it was for like 6 games. I was like,
Yeah.
what in the world is going on? This is D1 University. Like, come on, bro. So um that was just crazy to see. And then he's transferring. He's like, he guess he didn't want to take the punishment. He's transferring, and I think that's a huge blow to that team. I think that Retzlaff was a really good quarterback for them last year. He was probably one of the best ones in the Big 12. And to see him leave, in 2025 is, I think that's kind of a bigger impact for that program there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward and how they bounce back from last year, because they had a solid year last year. Just be interesting to see how they bounce back, and a very interesting storyline coming out of there. And just to mention other Big 12 teams real quick, Baylor, their quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, coming back. He's supposed to be a pretty high prospect coming this upcoming year. So that'll be interesting to see. TCU, of course, always a solid program. Texas Tech has spent a lot of money in NIL. Apparently, they're supposed to be pretty good this year. They've been getting 4-star and 5-star recruits down there and stuff like that. So watch out for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Colorado. Deion Sanders, of course. They lost Travis Hunter and Shadur this past draft, but they're bouncing back because they got not only Caden Salter from Liberty, the quarterback from Liberty, who was the quarterback for them when they played against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl a couple years ago, but also they got a 5-star quarterback out of high school. So Colorado should be pretty solid these next few years, and just seeing the talent around them to see if they can put something together and make a run as well. So the Big 12 is a very interesting conference, and I just think a lot of football fans are sleeping on it.
Yeah, Colorado, as always, it's the offensive line is always in question, or at least has been since Dion got there. So I saw a clip and linemen didn't look like they got too much bigger. But like you said, Baylor finished fifth in the Big 12 last year. So I mean, like they're right there already. Only two wins away, and they would have been the outright winners. And then I mean, it's a one game difference in the top four. It's a tough conference. And then again, and you want to talk about scrappy teams? You got West Virginia still in the conference. Arizona, although they lost McMillan, they still got Noah Fafita, and that guy I believe is the truth.
I mean, that conference is deep. Cincinnati, Houston, Houston, Houston got Texas A&M's quarterback, Connor Wegman.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. No, that'll be an interesting one this year.
I think you never know, man. Like the Big 12 is just such a competitive conference, and I just think it's going to be a lot of chaos, and it's just so fun to watch. Just as a college football fan, um, I think it's going to be a very interesting conference to watch this year. And as you see, we're talking about it a lot. So Big 12 is very interesting.
Big 12 is deep, man. Big 12 is deep.